speaker has a unique perspective on this issue that is profound. And I have been practicing the pronunciation of his last name all day long, and I'm hoping to say it properly now. I'd like to welcome James Faluzak to the stage.
I wouldn't be able to stand here today and deliver these remarks without the brave men and women standing behind me. They're my brothers and sisters. Yes, in addition to being a survivor, having been molested by my pastor when I was in high school in Erie, Pennsylvania, I regarded him as a bad apple, and I still felt God calling me to be a priest. And so I became a priest, and I served in the Diocese of Erie for 18 years. I know a thing or two about Catholic guilt because it was taught to me in the seminary. And I want to say to Senator Joe Scarnati, shame on you. Politics is a noble profession. We may not always believe that. We may look at many of our political figures and not feel that way. But when you're talking about upholding the common good of the citizens of Pennsylvania, can you think of anything more noble than that? But then for the president of our state senate to cast us as politicians as if it's a smear is shameful. I remind Senator Scarnati that I'm sure his intentions when he ran for office were noble. And I remind him that his profession and the people that he serves in this Commonwealth are noble. Make no mistake about it, this is a brand new moment for victims of clergy sex abuse. We've had 8 grand jury investigations in the United States before we had this most recent statewide investigation in the Commonwealth that ended this spring. Over 1,000 victims were noted by the recent PA 40th grand jury report. Since that report came out in August, over 1,300 calls have been made to the hotline that the Attorney General's office is running. And now, last week, we've had the announcement of potentially 4 federal probes of the Catholic Church in this part of the country. 4 U.S. Attorney General, or U.S. attorneys have said that they're investigating the Catholic Church. We have an ongoing investigation still by Attorney General Josh Shapiro, his prosecutors, and his agents. More and more victims are coming forward. They're contacting advocates, they're contacting fellow survivors, and we're here contacting elected officials. My message to every victim who might be listening today, who may be afraid to stand up or to speak up, you are not alone. Nothing will ever be the same again in the United States in terms of child protection. The floodgates have been opened, and the legislation that we seek is inevitable. This is the last place I thought I'd ever be standing when I was that 16-year-old boy in Monsignor Martin's bedroom. This is the last place I thought I'd be standing when I was ordained a priest in St. Peter's Cathedral in Erie. When I was teaching high school, when I was doing campus ministry, when I was doing prison work, this is the last place I ever thought I'd be standing. There's not a single person behind me that wants to be here. Senator Scarnati Quit forcing us into this public forum. We cannot get on with our healing without a 2-year retroactive window. The only one hurting us for political gain is you. Your leadership hinges on insurance companies. Your leadership hinges on lobbyists. Your leadership hinges on 37 lawyers and law firms who tried to block the grand jury and donated to you last cycle. Let's face it, your leadership hinges on bishops. And then you have the gall to say that we are political? No, we're just the ones left crying at the end of the night, in case you didn't realize it. More than half of all the priest abusers, 19 of them, named in the Erie portion of the grand jury report, served in Senator Scarnati's district. That does not include Clinton and Tioga counties, which are in 2 separate dioceses. Among the notorious cases from his district is that of Father Bill Presley. I knew Bill Presley. I draw your attention to pages 87 and following of the grand jury report. This is in speaking of Elk County, Pennsylvania, St. Mary's, Pennsylvania, just over the hill from Brockway, where Senator Scarnati lives. Sitting Bishop of Altoona Johnstown, Mark Barczyk, sent a confidential memo to Bishop Troutman that detailed the results of his interviews to date. Bishop Barczyk, you could go visit him in Altoona today if you wanted to, stated the following: I was not surprised to learn from other witnesses from the Elk County area that there are likely to be other victims, and that several more witnesses who could attest to the brutality that they were subjected to by Father Presley. Barczyk went on to say, it is likely that there may be others who are also of the age for offenses. But to what end is it necessary to follow every lead? Bishop Troutman decided that in order, this is in response to Bishop Barczyk, decided that in order these additional witnesses should not be contacted, especially since any further victims would not have been under the age of 16. Senator Scarnati, this is your district I'm talking about. And last evening it came to my attention, while visiting Elk County, that Father Presley took 4 of his victims from Elk County to Disney World. While that type of information may be useful to this new federal investigation, I have to ask Mr. Scarnati, what do you think the body count is in Elk County? What do you think the body count is in Jefferson County, the site of Du Bois Central Catholic? In McKean County, the former site of Bradford Central Catholic? Senator Scarnati does not have to worry about having us confront him as much as who will confront him on the other side. He will one day have to explain the body count from his district. By failing to give victims their day in court, Senator Scarnati prolongs the murder of souls. This is my testimony before the 40th investigating grand jury. It is 30 pages, single-spaced. How much of this do you think made its way into this grand jury report? About 2 paragraphs. Was I disappointed? Not in the least. But why we need Senate Bill 261, why we need the retroactive window of justice, is so that this material can be added to this material. And we all deserve the same opportunity. remarks last week acknowledged that he, as a parent, seeks to ensure that children are protected. I can't speak to being a parent, but I can speak to being a teacher of over 800 students in his district. When I was a priest in his district, I had the sad duty of burying 4 of my students, a task which changed my life forever. I can only imagine what parents who have lost a child to this horror must go through. And sadly, I've met many. As a priest, as a human, it was the honor of a lifetime to minister for 11 years within the 25th Senatorial District. And I can say, Mr. Scarnati, that I in fact do know your constituents, and I do know what they think of this. And I know the horror, the extent of the horror that went on in your senatorial district. And the only thing that I would say to you is this. Today, you have a tragedy that is avoidable. Of all the bad things that can happen in the world, or to a family, or to any one of us, senators, come back. Pass Senate Bill 261. Give us our window to justice. Help us avoid further tragedy.
As you've heard, we've got individuals who have been here for decades fighting for this. We've got people who have just joined us for the first time today. I want to make sure that every survivor out there knows you are not alone. There are free and confidential resources throughout this great state of Pennsylvania.